How do you feel about the George Kittle situation right now? Because this has to be priority number one for the 49ers, and right now it doesn't feel like there's much traction.
Yeah, it seems like Kittle wants his money now. I think every player wants his money now, and players are starting to get it. Chris Jones, Derrick Henry. Because think about it. If the league postpones the season or cancels the season, these players get their money on game checks. So there's a possibility that a lot of guys won't get paid this year. I'm sure a lot of guys, if they could get their signing bonus and extension now, they want it. And I think that's a big reason why a lot of teams don't want to give out money. They're like, well, I don't even know if we're going to be having a season. So I think he's in a similar boat as Mostert, and that the same boat that Buckner was in last year. Dude, you've been in the league 3 years. You want an extension? Okay, well then sign this below market value contract. You don't want that? Well then just suck it up and wait. And I think that's basically what he has to do. When you're a young guy on your rookie deal, you just kind of have to play the game and get to unrestricted free agency eventually. So he'll get it. He'll get paid, and he'll live happily ever after, but I think he's going to have to wait it out.
It's probably the worst kept secret in the 49ers locker room that it's not animosity, but they understand how tight the purse strings are when it comes to the front office. Obviously, that can be a real asset now when you have a bunch of players who all want money, and it's a salary cap game. It's just being an actuary. It's just being a guy who has to go out and fill out the spreadsheet. But man, like it does feel as if this could start getting nasty if this pushes forward anymore. And I can't imagine a circumstance in the next couple of years where the 49ers aren't in the same situation they're in, having to scrounge to find any dollar to stay under the salary cap. They have a lot of good players that were on a lot of cheap deals, and they're all going to want to get paid appropriately in the future. And that's just not something the 49ers really want to do, all things considered. And it's not because they're cheap. It's because they really do sweat the small stuff.
I think it gets nasty if they give George Kittle the franchise tag next year.
Okay.
Because, I think players in that locker room will be like, geez, that's the best player on our team. And they won't pay him. They're gonna break his, make him play out the franchise tag. What are they gonna do for me? I'm not as good as George Kittle. Geez, I see, and I don't know if they're gonna do that because then you really alienate one of the stars of the league. And I think other stars are going to look and be like, geez, I don't know if the 49ers are the kind of franchise that takes care of their guys. And I think that's partially why they didn't make DeForest Buckner play out the fifth-year option. I think they knew that would have made him upset, and that would have made Joel Siegel upset, the agent. And a lot of guys would have been looking around the league. A lot of guys around the league would have been looking at the Niners like, geez, is that a second-rate organization? Are they like the A's or something? So you got to be careful. I think it's fair to ask a young player to play out his rookie deal. But once you start getting to the franchise tag, now you look cheap.
Yeah, that will be absolutely fascinating. Do you think that George Kittle has a deal by the start of training camp? It's only a couple weeks away.
No, I don't. Okay. I don't. And you know what? I'm not even 100%. I'm not even that confident that he'll have a deal next year. I still kind of feel like this is going the same direction that Buckner went. But I'm a cynical guy. I just don't see – I think the difference is that the Niners profit off of Kittle. They sell his jersey. They never even really tried to market Buckner.
Right.
So it's almost a PR thing, and it could be a decision above the GM. Maybe Jed York says we have to work this out. But
it would make perfect sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. They need Kittle. He's the face of the franchise, more than their quarterback. I don't see how you let him go. But at the same time, if you believe Kyle Shanahan and you give him total trust, I think Kyle Shanahan could totally talk himself into trading George Kittle. Absolutely he could. If any offensive coordinator, coach, could talk himself into trading his best player, it's Kyle. And ever since the Raiders traded Khalil Mack, you just really can't rule out these type of things anymore. Because like you said, it's a salary cap league. And do you want to spend $17 million on one player or get two? It's tough. Yeah.
Well, what have the Patriots done? Instead of spending 20 on one guy, they'll spend 10 on two. And they have a full roster. And they take a little off the top with Tom Brady, don't get me wrong, or did. But, man, they always had arguably the best 53 every year. And they were never top-heavy. They were middle-heavy, and that's probably a good place to be. The 49ers are in a position here where they might have to be top-heavy given the amount of top-end talent that they have. It's a good problem to have, but it's a problem nevertheless.
Well, I think they're definitely modeling themselves after the Patriots. It's a great comparison. But what I look at is the Chiefs. The Chiefs are the other way to do it. And maybe the Chiefs have sold out for short-term success, but they've made sure that they've locked up their top players. Chris Jones, Patrick Mahomes will figure out the rest later. And the Niners are doing it the opposite way. They're doing it the Patriot way. Like, let's get rid of our best players, get value, and build around tier 2 and 3 guys. The difference is the Patriots have all that history of winning, so they can actually convince top-tier players to take below-market values to play with them because you know you're going to get a ring. The Niners don't have that history, so they're kind of playing hardball without the stripes. So it's interesting to see if they can pull it off.
Well, you could also say it's the Cowboys model. And that hasn't really worked out for them all that much. I mean, you look at the amount of guys that the Cowboys are paying; they're going to have no middle class and no lower class somehow out of all of this. It's so it can go a lot of different ways, all things considered.